Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Here are the top stories of the news. President Bola Tinubu reschedules FEC meeting in honor of late Army Chief Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja. Osun State government announces closure of old garage to Okefia Road for 1 week. On the foreign scene, President Joe Biden to address Americans later today following Donald Trump's election victory. Good afternoon and welcome to Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei. President Bola Tinubu has rescheduled the Federal Executive Council meeting till another date to be announced. Initially scheduled for today, the council meeting was postponed in honor of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja, who passed away on Tuesday night. This was disclosed in a statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, on Wednesday. General Lagbaja, whose death was earlier announced by the Presidency, served as the 27th Chief of Army Staff from June 19, 2023 till his death on November 5, 2024. President Tinubu also ordered flags to be flown at off-staff nationwide for 7 days in honor of the departed general. General Lagbaja began his military career when he enrolled in the Nigerian Defense Academy in 1987. On September 19, 1992, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Nigerian Infantry Corps as a member of the 39th Regular Corps. Meanwhile, police personnel are to wear a black band for 7 days in honor of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, gave the directive in a statement signed by the force spokesman, Muyiwa Adejobi. The police boss ordered officers and men of the force to wear black band throughout the 7-day mourning period. He said the directive is to pay tribute and honor to the late general who has shown gallantry, dedication and passion for fighting violent crimes and insurgency in the country. According to the Presidency, the COAS died on Tuesday in Lagos after a period of illness. However, the nature of the illness was not disclosed. Here in Osun State, the State Ministry of Works and Infrastructure has announced that the old garage to Okefia Road in Osogbo will be closed for 1 week between 12 noon on Friday, November 8 to 12 noon of Thursday, November 14. In a statement, the ministry's permanent secretary, Engineer Bashir Bello, says it is to allow for the smooth launching of beams on the Okefia flyover and completion of the ongoing construction work on the old garage to Okefia Road. He advised motorists and other road users to find alternative routes to their various destinations during the period of the closure. Engineer Bello added that the traffic officers, such as the Federal Road Safety Corps and OTRAM, will be on ground to direct traffic. The continued tardiness of the Osun State government in the teachers' recruitment process has drawn outcry from parents amid calls for urgent action from the state government. The delay has left a number of parents lamenting over the deficit of teachers in government-owned schools, especially those in the rural areas. This is coming months after the announcement of the 5,000 teachers recruitment by the state government earlier this year. Toby Sanusi has more on this.
March 2024, the Osun State government commenced teachers' recruitment exercise to fill the deficit in many government schools. Since then, there has been a number of screening processes conducted by the state government. In September, the Commissioner for Education, Ohiolei, said this set of 5,000 new teachers would resume academic activities with the students. But this is November, and this set of new teachers are yet to resume.
By the grace of God, new teachers will resume with the pupils come 2 weeks this time. By next week, there's going to be interview. You will be hearing it on radio as from Wednesday. So the state has been zoned.
Many government schools like this, especially those in the rural areas, are suffering for the tardiness of the state government in the recruitment process. In some of the schools that we visited, the students complain of not having basic subject teachers like mathematics, English, biology, among other subjects. We also saw cases of schools having about 5, 6 or 9 teachers taking a whole secondary school. This is the situation in many government schools. Mrs. Shakirat has 2 children in government-owned secondary schools who often greet her with lamentations of insufficient teachers while returning from their schools. One of our kids who will be sitting for the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, WASC, has been lagging behind in academics, no thanks to the deficit of teachers. Mrs. Shakirat says her child at ADS Grammar School, Ifon, in Ohiolei local government area of Osun State, has not had mathematics, physics, and further mathematics teacher for 3 years now.
Ó máa complain tó bí 3 years báyìí tán tí máa complain pé àwọn ò ní teacher. Kẹjọ nítorí Ọlọ́run kí ràn wá lọ́wọ́ kí síjú àánú wò wá o. Alágbára àti kó ọmọ sí public ló jẹ́ ká fi wọ́n sí ṣe lọ́jà alágbára àti pé ọmọ lọ sí public ló jẹ́ ká wọn kó wọn lọ sí private. Àwọn ọmọ tí wọ́n wà ní school wọn ní àwọn teacher. Àwọn míì fẹ́ ṣe WAEC lọ́dún yìí tó ṣe pé kò teacher fún wọn bí mathematics àti physics. Tí wọ́n bá ní àwọn nǹkan yẹn báwo ni wọ́n ṣe fẹ́ gúnef tó fẹ́ pass nínú exam tí wọ́n fẹ́ ṣe ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ ràn wá lọ́wọ́. Àwọn ọmọ mi tó fẹ́ ṣe WAEC lọ́dún yìí ó wà nù wọn ó máa ń complain. Èyí tó wà tí wà ní SS1 náà nísìnyí àwọn náà máa ń complain. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ nítorí Ọlọ́run ẹ ràn wá lọ́wọ́. Àwọn tí ẹni máa gba teacher láti oṣù kẹta yẹn wọ́n wá láwọn ọmọ bá wọn àwọn teacher tí wọ́n fẹ́ gbà wọ́n bá wọlé ní oṣù kẹsàn-án wọn àti ìwọlé nísìnyí o.
In some of the schools visited by Western Spring Television outside the state capital, some secondary schools, mostly in rural communities, have just 5, 7 or 9 teachers for over 15 subjects. A total of 5 teachers, including the principal, who managed to teach students in Egbedi High School, Egbedare local government area, have been worn out as the PTA chairman of the school, Adeyemi Ajayi, asked government to prioritize the school in the recruitment process. Mr. Ajayi, who also volunteers to teach the students in the school, says the deficit discourages the students from their education pursuit.
There is no enough teacher. We are teaching, we depend on corpus and the little teachers sent to the community, 5 of them, including the principal. We lack teachers on mathematics, English, physics, chemistry, biology, and Greek. So we are expecting the government to consider our school first.
This has been the trend in many government schools, but hopes have been resuscitated since the announcement of teachers' recruitment by the state government, with calls for schools in rural communities to be prioritized. Earlier, the Commissioner for Education, Ohiolei, had vowed that the new 5,000 teachers would resume with the students on September 16th. Meanwhile, as at the time of filing these reports, this promise has yet to come to fruition, but when contacted, Mr. Ohiolei disclosed that the matter will be addressed at a later date. According to the state government, screening and interviews have been conducted for qualified candidates, but no explanation has been provided for the delay in the recruitment, at the detriment of thousands of students who would soon wrap up academic activities for the year. Toby Sanusi, Western Spring Television News.
Moving on, the Federal Road Safety Commission, Oyo State Command, has begun sensitization in Oyo State on the rights of passengers during the Ember months. The FRSC Oyo State Command Sector Commander, Car Commander Rosemary Alo, who led the sensitization tagged dangerous driving kills many passengers that then drivers, said the command will put measures in place to ensure people drive safely. She called on road users to ensure that they do not exceed the speed limit and ensure that when driving, they employ all their senses.
More personnel, deploying more personnel to the highways. I will be doing a lot of traffic calming this season, a lot of traffic calming. We're emphasizing on that so that people can reduce their speed, because speed kills. And we want people to know that dangerous driving kills. And so we are involving everyone, involving all the public, to let them know it's important that people drive with a lot of caution this season. Be careful there on the road. When you are driving, don't drive on top speed. Be careful. Be mindful of other road users. Ensure that you don't exceed the speed limit when you are driving on the road. And then ensure that when you're driving, you are employing all your senses.
Still in Oyo, the state government has approved a minimum wage of 80,000 naira for the state workforce. The State Commissioner for Information and Orientation, Dr. Ohiolei, disclosed this in a statement on Wednesday, saying the technical committee set up by the government recommended and got approval from Governor Seyi Makinde for the implementation of the new salary scale. He added that the new scale will be implemented as soon as the consequential adjustments process is completed by the committee comprising government and labor top officials. Elsewhere, Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal on Wednesday ordered the immediate suspension of all non-statutory deductions, notably cooperative associations and commodity vendors' deductions. Workers in the northwestern state have raised multiple complaints regarding deductions made through the state payroll system. In a statement, the spokesperson for the governor, Sulaiman Bala Idris, said the directive was aimed at banning all non-statutory deductions made through the state government's payroll. He stated that the decision was made due to complaints about deductions from workers' salaries, some of which were used to facilitate an illegal surcharge of the workers in the name of cooperatives and commodity loan repayments. You're watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. Many more to come. That will be right after this break. Stay with us.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Welcome back to Spring News at 12, now talking business. 3 oil marketers, AYM Shaffer Limited, AA Rano Limited and Matrix Petroleum Services Limited have asked the Federal High Court in Abuja to dismiss a suit filed by Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals. The marketers, in a joint counter affidavit dated November 5, a response to an originating summons filed by Dangote Petroleum Refinery, argued that granting the application of the refinery would spell doom for the country's oil sector. They emphasized that the plan to monopolize the oil sector is a recipe for disaster in the country. Dangote Refinery, in its originating summons dated September 6, had sued the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority and Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation Limited, AYM Shafa Limited, AA Rano Limited, Tea-Time Petroleum Limited, 2015 Petroleum Limited, and Matrix Petroleum Services Limited as first to seventh defendants, respectively. The refinery prayed the court to declare that the NMDPRA was in violation of Sections 317, subsection 8 and 9 of the Petroleum Industrial Act, PIA, by issuing licenses for the importation of petroleum products. On the foreign scene, U.S. President Joe Biden will make a painful address to the nation later today, vowing a peaceful transfer of power to Donald Trump, after his political nemesis scored a crushing election win over Kamala Harris. In what promises to be an agonizing moment for Biden, he will speak in the Rose Garden of the White House at 11 a.m. local time to discuss the election results and the transition to Trump's second term. The 81-year-old dropped out of the race against Trump in July and handed the Democratic nomination to Vice President Harris. The president is, however, determined to draw a stark contrast with Trump, whose refusal to accept his own 2020 election defeat by Biden culminated in the violent January 6, 2021 assault by Trump supporters on the U.S. Capitol. Falsely claiming voter fraud, Trump also refused to attend Biden's inauguration and did not allow a proper transition. Meanwhile, former President Barack Obama on Wednesday congratulated Donald Trump on his election victory, noting the importance of a peaceful transfer of power. While noting that this was not the outcome they had hoped for, Obama in a statement said democracy is about recognizing that one's point of view will not always win, and being willing to accept the peaceful transfer of power. In Asia, Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has vowed to ban children under 16 from social media, saying the pervasive influence of platforms like Facebook and TikTok was doing real harm to kids. Prime Minister, addressing a news briefing, said tech giants would be held responsible for enforcing the age limit and face hefty fines if regulators notice young users slipping through the cracks. Australia is among the vanguard of nations trying to clean up social media, and the proposed age limit would be among the world's strictest measures aimed at children. The new laws would be presented to state and territory leaders this week before being introduced to Parliament in late November. Once passed, tech platforms would be given a one-year grace period to figure out how to implement and enforce the ban. Mr. Albanese said the onus will be on social media platforms to demonstrate they are taking reasonable steps to prevent access, explaining what to adopt a world-leading reform.
Social media is doing harm to our kids, and I'm calling time on it. I've spoken to thousands of parents, grandparents, aunties and uncles. They, like me, are worried sick about the safety of our kids online. And I want Australian parents and families to know that the government has your back. I want parents to be able to say, sorry mate, it's against the law for me to get you to do this. We don't argue that the changes that we will be legislating will fix everything immediately. We have laws such as people can't buy alcohol if they're under 18, and from time to time that can be broken. But those laws set what the parameters are for our society, and they assist in ensuring the right outcomes. Now, government's proposed age is 16. That decision was made in Cabinet on Monday, and that proposal will go to the National Cabinet meeting that I'm convening online, a virtual meeting tomorrow morning. The onus will be on, just to go through some of the details, the onus will be on social media platforms to demonstrate they are taking reasonable steps to prevent access. The onus won't be on parents or young people. There will be no penalties for users. The E-Safety Commissioner will provide oversight and enforcement. The legislation will come into force 12 months after passage. There will be a review of the legislation following its commencement to make sure this is world-leading legislation. We want to make sure that it is got.
Talking sports, the interim coach of Nigeria Super Eagles, Augustine Eguavoen, has invited 23 players for the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Benin Republic and Rwanda. Among the players listed for the games is Galatasaray's star striker Victor Osimhen, who was absent in the last game against Libya due to injury. Also returning to the Super Eagles team after a while out is Real Sociedad's forward Omar Sadiq. Matchday 5 clash with Benin Republic at the Stade Felix Houphouët-Boigny on November 14 will kick off at 8 p.m. Nigerian time, while the Matchday 6 encounter with Rwanda will take place at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium, Uyo, on November 18. With 2 matches remaining, Nigeria tops Group D with 10 points after CAF awarded Nigeria 3 goals and 3 points for the abandoned match against Libya. The Eagles refused to play the game after they were left stranded for hours at a Libyan airport and denied access to food. Before we end the news, here is a recap of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu has rescheduled the Federal Executive Council meeting in honor of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja, who passed away on Tuesday night. The Osun State Ministry of Works and Infrastructure has announced that the old garage to Okefia Road in Osogbo will be closed for 1 week between Friday, November 8 to Thursday, November 14. On the foreign scene, U.S. President Joe Biden will make a painful address to the nation later today, vowing a peaceful transfer of power to Donald Trump after his political nemesis scored a crushing election win over his Vice President Kamala Harris. You can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring TV. That ends Spring News at 12. I am Evelyn Ohiolei. Thank you so much for your time.